It's no secret that it's the juniors and new grads that are facing the brunt of this tougher job market.
Big tech companies cut the hiring of new grads.
Nobody wants to hire a junior software engineer.
Big tech doesn't want you, bro.
New entry-level hires are down 25% since 2023, despite hires for mid-level and senior roles increasing. Anthropic's CEO recently went viral for making the claim that up to half of all white-collar entry-level jobs will be eliminated by AI over the next 5 years.
AI models are very much at the center of what an entry-level human worker would do.
The Federal Reserve Bank of New York recently released data showing that computer science graduates had one of the highest levels of unemployment compared to all other majors. In this video, I want to talk to you about why hiring is recovering only for mid-level and seniors and what this might mean for us years down the road. I'm going to show you what I've discovered after doing a ton of research, as well as give you my honest opinion on what I think the real story is beneath all of the fear-mongering. According to most of the sources that I could find on this particular topic, including a CompTIA jobs report, about 22% of tech job postings are targeted at applicants with 0 to 3 years of experience. That might seem like a decently high number, given that about a quarter of all software engineers in the US have under 4 years of experience. But if the percentage of job postings for juniors match the proportion of juniors in the market, then why does it seem like juniors have it that much harder? I went to TrueUp.com and I saw that out of all of their available jobs, the vast majority was categorized as entry or mid-level. But as soon as I started reading the job postings, I saw that nearly every single one required at least 2 years of industry experience. And if I go to LinkedIn, it's kind of the same thing. Most jobs with the word junior or even entry level typically required several years of experience. In fact, an analysis of LinkedIn job postings found that for most entry-level jobs, an average of 2 years of experience was required. The only postings that truly require no experience? Internships, which make up only a small fraction of job postings, and most of them also require you to be currently enrolled in an undergraduate program in order to be eligible. One junior software engineer said, "I feel like entry-level jobs now require ridiculous amounts of experience. I wish there was a system that actually filtered for entry-level roles." Now, I've mentioned in previous videos that it's this combination of everyone going back to normal and using digital products less after the pandemic and a correction for overhiring that led to this tighter job market for employees. But you might be wondering, shouldn't the competition at the lower level bubble up to mid-level roles and above? I'm going to explain why this isn't the case in the next section. First, I want to mention that while it does seem like the job search experience for seniors is overall more positive than it is for new grads, it's not exactly a walk in the park either. I've been seeing time and time again that the technical bar is elevated now that companies can afford to be choosier. One senior engineer who recently interviewed at Google said, "I used to think that lead code hard problems were never asked at Google. Now in 2024, they seem to have become the norm." Also, according to the World Economic Forum's 2025 Future of Jobs report, more employers worldwide are seeing AI skills as one of the necessary core skills by 2030. As a result, knowing how to get the most out of AI tools like ChatGPT is essential. But to really get the most out of AI, you're gonna need solid prompt engineering skills. That's why I think you should take a look at this free, in-depth guide on advanced ChatGPT prompt engineering created by HubSpot. It's packed with practical tips to help you save time, understand complex topics faster, and get ChatGPT to give you targeted, specific outputs, not just random, vague answers. And this isn't just a collection of isolated prompts. It's a complete playbook for tailoring ChatGPT to your work, study, or personal projects. What I love about this guide is that it's designed to take you from beginner to expert in just 7 days. You'll kick things off with a quick self-assessment guide to see where your current skills stand, and then dive deep into actionable strategies to help you improve your prompt game. We've all had ChatGPT hallucinate and give us errors and bugs in its answers. There's an entire section dedicated to showing you how to build error-resistant prompts so that ChatGPT can actually check and correct its own work. This guide is designed so that even if you're a beginner, you can follow the foundations and be crafting better prompts and getting better results in no time. Huge thanks to HubSpot for putting together this resource and making it available and for sponsoring this video. Take a look by clicking on the link in the description. The first reason why there is a smaller supply of senior engineers is because not everyone who gets a CS degree or bootcamp becomes a software engineer. And let's be honest, not everyone who becomes a junior software engineer can or even want to eventually become a senior software engineer. And as with any other industry, there is a ton of attrition every year and at every level. And the breakdown of engineers resembles kind of like a pyramid. You've got the juniors at the bottom that make up a large portion of available engineers, mid-level engineers, and far fewer senior engineers and above at the very top. I mean, just think of how many of your own friends and peers have pivoted away from tech into something else. Now, the other reason is that before 2023, the gap between the supply and demand of software engineers was so in favor of the engineers that companies and hiring managers didn't really have much of a choice but to hire juniors. From the perspective of the companies, juniors are a lot more of a risky hire than a senior. For the first few months, not only are they not as productive as an average senior, they're actually a net negative on the team because they need a lot more support from other engineers as they ramp up. And once you invest the time and money to train them, there's a good chance that they're just going to leave. Now, obviously, there are exceptions and maybe there are amazing juniors, but I'm just kind of talking about the typical case. But because there weren't a lot of senior engineers available to hire before 2023, companies had no choice but to take a bet on juniors and bootcamp graduates and kind of pray that it would pay off. Needless to say, the surplus of software engineers today means that companies don't really need to take a bet on juniors anymore. The third reason why it's a senior-only market is AI or the hype surrounding AI. I know you guys are probably sick and tired of hearing about AI, so I'm going to keep this brief. But I think the discussion over whether or not AI will replace all of us eventually ignores the problem that's already in front of us today. And it's that AI is already doing a few of the things that we used to assign to junior developers. For example, at my first job as a junior, all I worked on were these trivial, isolated feature requests like change link to this button or add validation to this form. These are precisely the simple, isolated tasks that are most likely to be taken over by AI. And this really sucks for junior engineers because solving these simpler problems at first and really understanding the solutions is a great way to nail down the fundamentals and get your feet wet. From the perspective of someone who used to be a junior, I can definitely see AI having a negative impact on entry-level hiring. That being said, it's also kind of impossible to distinguish what is hype and what is reality. Is it truly AI causing this shift in the job market, or is it mostly the narrative surrounding AI? When companies say they're going to replace entry-level workers with AI, that could very well be a negotiation tactic to drive down employee leverage and make you feel more replaceable than you actually are. When companies do layoffs and blame AI, who's to say they're not just using AI as a scapegoat? Companies such as Klarna and Duolingo that have attempted to replace their staff with AI have been met with backlash and tons of problems as they quickly discover that, believe it or not, most of their customers hate AI slop. A recent survey of firms conducted by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York showed that the impact of AI on the labor market was currently too small to be detectable. Again, the caveat here is the word currently, and we don't really know what's going to happen in the next 5, 10, 15 years down the line. But I think it's important that we take a step back and we don't take all of this hype at face value. So if you're a new grad or a junior watching this, what should you do? If you've been reading blogs or watching videos like this, everyone says the same thing. Go to in-person networking events, start building in public, learn AI, learn agentic AI. Phew. I am exhausted just trying to keep up with this ever-growing list. I mean, let's be real. We all have limited time and energy. It's not like we have 9 lifetimes to be able to do all of these things. Not only that, but if you're constantly chasing the hot new trend, the newest framework, AI tool, etc., you're always going to be a little bit too late. The CEO of Microsoft recently said that one way to be hired today is to start thinking like a software architect. In my previous videos, I kind of mentioned mentioned the same thing. Engineers that are able to think bigger picture and solve complex business problems rather than just code are going to be the ones that are least likely to be replaced by AI. Now, the obvious issue is that new software engineers can't just jump straight into being architects or project managers. I honestly think that in order to make good decisions on software architecture, we need to experience designing systems at scale and feel the pain of the problem that we're trying to solve. No matter how many books you've read and side projects you've built, nothing really beats the experience of dealing with load balancing issues in a real-world scenario or building enterprise-grade solutions. In the same interview where Satya Nadella said that we should all be software architects, he also says that the way to do that is by nailing down your fundamentals. By building deep knowledge, you start to see new frameworks and libraries as essentially solving the same old problem in a slightly new way. For example, once you've nailed down React, it becomes pretty trivial to learn Vue.js. You might roll your eyes at everyone telling you to learn AI this or AI that, but at the end of the day, building an AI-powered app isn't all that different from building any other application. It's trivial to learn once you've got the fundamentals down. Also, the other thing I wanted to mention is that the competition looks a lot stronger than it actually is. While there seems to be a ton of competition at the entry level, hiring managers have been saying that the vast majority of the applications are kind of spray and pray.
So first of all, like most people just spray and pray. They just apply to all kinds of stuff crazy that they're not even qualified for. Those are very quickly shuffled off.
So even if you see a LinkedIn job posting where there's like hundreds of applicants and it was posted only a couple days ago, remember that that number includes everyone who's clicked the button to see more about the role, not just the people who have submitted an application.
Let's take this job at Grubhub, 332 applicants, hit apply, open up the Grubhub application. I'm not going to fill it out, but I'm going to come back to LinkedIn, hit refresh. And we are now at 333 applications.
Some of you are not going to want to hear this, but another tactic to get your first job is to simply apply for in-person or hybrid roles. Fully remote positions are far more competitive, and by focusing on on-site and hybrid roles, you're going to be dramatically reducing your competition. Even if you hate the idea of going into the office, keep in mind that your first job is going to be the hardest one to find. But once you have that experience, it does get better from there. But if there are no entry-level roles or people willing to train juniors, what is that going to mean for the industry years or decades down the line? I've witnessed a lot of computer science graduates pivot away from tech into other career paths after trying for months, if not years, to get their first tech job and just not being able to break in. While this is just me speculating, I do believe that there is a possibility years down the line, the demand for senior engineers will be even higher than it is today. The fact that tech is harder to get into these days could result in a shortage of qualified, experienced engineers in the future. Now that the barrier of entry is quite high, only the truly dedicated will be able to cross the chasm. But maybe this is kind of a good thing because scarcity creates value, aka keeps the salaries high. Not only that, but with so much code being generated by AI in the present moment, companies might eventually be forced to reckon with the fact that they're gonna have to hire actual people to clean up all of this AI slop and the bugs that come with AI. For the new grads willing to grind it out a little bit longer in the beginning and doing whatever it takes to get that first job, just remember that this rough patch probably won't last, and things are looking at least a little bit brighter down the road as you move into mid-level and senior roles. From the World Economic Forum to the Bureau of Labor, most experts predict that there will be strong demand for software engineers over the next decade. Again, there are a billion factors that impact the job market, so it's impossible to know for sure, but this is my prediction. From anecdotal evidence, it seems that the job hunt for developers with experience is a lot better than the doom and gloom you see online. It's completely valid if you're a new computer science or bootcamp grad and you feel like you've been sold this lie that there is an endless demand for engineers. Every day I'll get comments from people saying that they've given up altogether or that it's hopeless, and Honestly, I kind of understand why they feel that way. I know this won't pay your bills, but maybe take solace in the fact that you're absolutely not alone in this, and so many of your peers are going through this together. A tougher job market doesn't mean it's impossible, just that it might take a little bit longer than you anticipated. At the end of the day, you have no control over the job market or AI. You can only control how well you prepare for the interviews, so it's best to just focus on that. If you've enjoyed this video, you might enjoy the one I did recently on why the notion of a dream tech job is dead. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.